Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm here with Ms. Laura Lee Connor. I'm always tempted to say O'Connor.
I don't know why.
You know, Laura Lee Connor, Gender Affairs Coordinator, Dr. Ronald McInerney. What you doing now, Dr. McInerney?
I'm doing various things, but I'm here as the Vice President of Family Support Network.
The Vice President. Okay,
Right.
good. And Marcus Harley, right? I pronounced that right?
No, it's Harley.
Harley.
Yeah.
Harley. How you doing, Marcus? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Marcus as a brilliant joiner, cabinet maker. But you're here as
I'm here as a member of the PFP Aftercare Support Group.
okay. The aftercare support. Aftercare support meaning
After you leave the PFP program,
Which is the partnership.
which is the
for peace.
Partnership for Peace, we have another group that supports us after you leave that program. There's like, who is here now to back us? So what we do is we get together as a group, like a brotherhood, and we talk about the issues of domestic violence and all of that.
so. Partnership for Peace is
It's
not
a-
peace in the world. It's peace in the family.
Yeah, it's a
court-
court-mandated
it's a court-mandated
program.
program.
Okay. Never.
The Batterers Intervention Program is run through the Office of Gender Affairs.
I never heard of it before.
Wow.
So you need to do some publicity.
Yeah, I probably do.
Okay, so we'll talk about that.
Yes, we can talk about that.
All right, cool. So this month is Domestic Violence Awareness
Awareness Month.
Month, not Domestic Violence Month.
No.
Domestic Violence Violence Awareness Month, and the minister made a tremendous speech.
Lovely.
It was a good
I
speech.
really have to
Right.
thank him for doing that. It was excellent. He really delivered on that.
And one of the things that he said is that victims should come out and identify their abusers, and your neighbor should, if a neighbor see domestic violence going on in your house, that because you could see the woman, you could see the man run out in his pajamas with his wife, with the pot, the pot going to hit him in his head, you know, because we know that men get beat up too.
Yes.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
And
I
sometimes
was
we
getting ready to
get
say a woman running out in a nightgown, but I changed that. So you as a neighbor, you could see what's going on,
Or you can hear it.
and you could hear the
That's right.
arguing and the
Right.
cussing and all that, right? And so he's urging the neighbor, the community, to really get involved.
To be responsible.
Yeah. But then there's a lot of fear. What we have to mitigate that fear of the neighbors and the victim identifying the abuse.
Well, we offer support. I don't think one agency alone can handle all the problems that come along with domestic violence. So I believe in collaboration, working with each other, supporting one another for the cause. And so that's why I've made it my business to go out there, work with social development, family support network, and even the men for the after support program. They are doing a tremendous job. As a matter of fact, the theme that we're using this year in a relationship to be respected is expected is actually a slogan that these men came up with after they had a project to advocate for violent-free relationships. And they came up with a couple of slogans that Marcus bought. They have shirts. He's wearing one tonight.
And he brought one for me, right? A black one,
What's your size?
extra large.
That's one of their slogans. Domestic violence begins with me and you. And then this one here seems to be everyone's favorite. That's why we went with the theme. In a relationship, to be respected is expected.
Yeah,
so it's not that.
So that one is mine.
What's your
So-
size?
Extra large. What size is that?
This a large.
Okay, I'll take the large.
All right.
Good.
So this is why we came up with the theme, because this shirt seems to be the one that's getting all the publicity. Everybody is requesting those shirts.
It's an excellent slogan. Now the after support, how does that help the domestic violence victim?
What it does is it helps these men to be better communicators, and in most cases, better fathers, better partners. Marcus can more explain to you since he's been through
I
this
was hoping
process.
that I was hoping that you would.
Yes,
Yes.
he'll deal with that.
Yeah.
What you actually do is we meet and we remind each other that the reason we got here was not such a good reason. But the fact that we are here now is our chance and opportunity to let others know that what we did wasn't a good idea. It's very wrong, and you don't want women to be afraid of you. You don't want women doing anything for you because they're afraid of you.
So you are a group of men that engage in domestic violence?
Yeah, we've
Yes,
been-
the court mandated
Court
them to the
mandated
PFP.
they sent us there.
Oh, okay.
So we went through the 16-week course, and after that, no, it's like we did this, we took away this training, but it's nothing to do with it. So what we're doing now is we're making sure that we speak among ourselves and make sure that we do not.
You
Go
don't,
back
you don't,
that
you don't do
way.
it. You don't do it again, and
Right.
you discourage others from
It's a
doing it.
support
and-
group for them.
Yes, and
That's
encourage
right.
others not to get involved. So we
No.
don't really want our group to get bigger because the coach sent you there.
Okay.
We want it to get bigger because I encourage you, Cromwell, to come and be a part of it and help to tell Mr. McEnany, no, do not get involved.
To spread the word,
To
so
spread
to
the word,
speak.
so to
Yeah.
speak. That's good. So have you been able to identify what caused you to be abusive? I mean, what in our personality, and either of you, anyone could answer this because all you have expertise in that area. Whether you engage in domestic violence or not.
Well,
I don't mean you have intimate knowledge. I mean expertise from a education academic standpoint.
Basically, we know that it's got to do with, control, power and control. And very often in a relationship between a man and a woman, the man will feel threatened, feels that he needs to assert himself. And sometimes it starts with, yelling, and then it sometimes continues to increase in terms of him trying to control, shout the woman down, and then eventually beat the woman down. So it's a situation that goes back to power and control, and it's got to do with communication. And I think that's what your
That's-
group is focusing on, correct?
Yes.
Teaching the men how to communicate more effectively with their partners.
Yeah. But we grew up socialized as men to be in control. We grew up. I grew up with my father in control, and perhaps Marcus, he's probably a little younger than I am, but perhaps he grew up with his father in control as well. In our community, and I think in the country generally, we grew up as men being in control, providing for their families. Women, everybody understood their role. Here comes the feminist movement and start telling us about equality and start telling us about women wanting to have careers and they wanted a job, and the man, then all of a sudden the man find he got to cook and clean and sew, and I mean, y'all really screwed things up. I mean, really
Even
truly,
though I'm
really-
outnumbered.
No, but
really
I
truly-
have to disagree with him.
really truly-
They
really
didn't
truly-
screw things up.
No, listen. You change the whole social structure of the territory, and perhaps the world.
The world.
The
It's
whole
world.
social structure of the world, and you throw gender roles out the window, and I mean I'm blaming that for the whole thing.
Gender roles, first of all, are learned. Okay?
Right.
So, as
We learn them as men.
right, you learn
Take
them,
care of your
but
family,
you
build
can
your
now-
house, provide for your children. Your
Gen-
wife is supposed to be obedient.
But it's supposed to be a supportive relationship.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
There's
a
supposed to be
lady.
mutual respect
Mutual-
and
that's
shared
right.
responsibility in the household, because both parties are working now. So there's shared responsibility within the home. And like I was trying to tell you before, gender roles are learned. And as your society or the structure of your society changes, then you therefore have to change your concept, your perception, and you have to fit into the role that is best for that union or that couple.
Yeah, so we learn to adapt.
Exactly.
So the women changed the rules, and then we got
No,
adopted
we
the
didn't
rules.
change. It's all about equality.
Oh. And y'all felt unequal?
Well, if you're doing, we're cleaning and cooking and doing everything in the house.
And we out in the hot sun
Yes, but that's
throwing
not
her
the
peak.
case anymore. See, you're going right back to proving my
we
point.
are all not out there, so
Okay.
if we help out around the house a little more, then the lady will have more time for us.
Okay, so how do we go about now building healthy relationships coming out of that historic background of male dominance, paternalism, as some of us like to call it?
Well, it goes back to what I mentioned before in terms of it being a supportive relationship. And basically, that's what it was, even if you look at it from the point of view of male dominance, you know, where the woman is a stay-at-home mom and the man goes out and chops down the trees, you know, realistically speaking, that's a supportive relationship. You know, now, as was pointed out in today's world, things have changed, roles have changed. You know, some of it has to do with economics, some of it has to do with educational development that you and I and Lorelei have achieved. You know, where, again, it's where we're supporting each other.
Right.
And we need to remember that in a supportive relationship, there needs to be mutual respect, mutual caring, and that is what needs to be presented to the next generation, our children, so that they're prepared to take on the roles that have been developed.
And how do we get to that relationship as men? And I'm thinking that men, even though we're trying to say to make it equal, that women.
What do you mean to make it equal? It is equal.
Wait, don't get upset yet, Dr. Don't get upset yet, Dr. Manny. You get ready to bust me a good close. What I mean is that to say that they make it seem like, well, it happens to men as well. We say men are also subject to abuse, but we know overwhelming majority
Is
women is victims, right? That's what I meant to say, Doc. Don't beat me up yet. No violence.
Yeah, that's what we promoted. No violence.
That's right.
Yeah. So, having come from that background, how do we learn though, as men, to adjust and adapt and have that supportive relationship when we are not accustomed of that open communication? Where do we get that training from? How are we going to help ourselves and help each other in that regard?
It comes about by being open to listening to what your partner has to say. As I said before, mutual respect and cooperation. We need to remember that we need to treat people, our partners and other people, the same way we want to be treated. So there's a whole, strategy that you need to take on in terms of communication and relationships. Relationships are very difficult between males and females. Relationships are difficult between males and males and females. So every relationship needs work. And I think that's something that all of us need to remember and take on, and remember that the work is worthwhile. Because if you work on establishing a balanced relationship, a mutual respectful relationship, it's worth it. You get benefits from that, as opposed to having a relationship that is, antagonistic or argumentative with each other. That's a negative relationship.
Well, speaking of negative and positive relationship, I don't know how many of us know what a healthy relationship looks like. Well, I mean,
Do you want to respond?
I can ask a few questions on that. And if after asking these
if
questions,
there's yes to any of those answers,
Anyone.
any of those answers, the relationship is not healthy.
yeah, it's not healthy. So you could say, like, when we fight, we tend to blame each other. I can tell my partner what I really think and feel. My partner is jealous of my career or friends. I often feel lonely in my relationship. I have been physically hurt. For example, slapped, kicked, or punched by my partner. My partner usually cuts me off when I talk. I do most of the work. My partner often verbally abuses me, calling me names, threatening me. That's just an example. My partner cheats on me. My partner is the one who needs to change, not me.
So those
So-
are not
So if you're saying yes to those,
healthy relationships.
you know,
Any
healthy
characteristic there is
Is bad.
yes.
Okay. And of course, what is Gender Affairs doing to help us to get over those hurdles, to be more supportive, to listen to each other when we talk, to share the workload, to be more responsible, to be able to open up and say what we feel without feeling that our partner's going to get upset and, you know, you got to keep your mouth shut. And if you want to maintain peace, you got to keep your mouth shut.
All
Peace
right.
through silence.
Well, Gender Affairs, as you know, we coordinated this Domestic Awareness Month with our partner agencies. And this year, we're doing a lot more presentations in the schools. Last year, our theme for Love Doesn't Hurt, we went into the churches because we realized that there are a lot of religious beliefs that keep persons in abusive relationships. And we wanted to address that from the church level. And last year, the focus was really, really on churches. This year, we're going into the schools. And surprisingly enough, there are a lot of issues that you'll be alarmed about when you go into the schools to talk about healthy relationships. And we're also educating the private sector on the Domestic Violence Act, as well as the public sector. We did water and sewage and public work when did we do those, Marcus? Last week. And that was, I mean, we got questions. Each session is supposed to be about an hour and a half. And we were at these establishments for like 2 hours, and people kept talking and asking questions. And we usually walk with a team. We usually have a lawyer when we're doing the Domestic Violence Act. We have a lawyer, support staff, either from Family Support Network, Social Development, someone that can offer the victim support. Then we have, I do the introduction, explaining what the changes are in the Act, what it includes now, like stalking, intimidation, electronic email. And we also have some videos that we are playing on the various channels, local channels, the internet, BVI Hot Press, Vino, all these places where we have the infomercials on infidelity, because our culture is so accepting to infidelity that it's not even funny. And that's a form of, that's going to lead up to abuse, because after you are caught cheating or you're out there cheating, you can't possibly come home and treat your loved one as if you're not out there doing anything, or it's going to cause friction within that home. And we also have one on cyberbullying, because that's fairly new, and I know a lot of our young people are indulging in that, and we don't want our society to become accepting of that. So as a result, what we're doing is trying to educate the public basically on the cyberbullying, the infidelity, the name calling, the way we speak to each other, the way we communicate with each other. Sometimes it can be really harsh, and that can also lead to domestic violence. We also have one on withholding for control. If you're withholding from your partner 2-3 months and it's simply because you want to control the situation, that's going to lead to abuse. I can't see any good coming out of that. That's going to lead to an abusive situation where either party can get really frustrated over that whole situation. So I think it's really important to pull everything together by focusing on respect within a relationship, because if you have that respect, a lot of the other characteristics would come naturally. The honesty, the trust, the respect, the encouragement, the sharing, the mutual responsibility, the intimacy, all of that would fall in place if there's respect there.
Okay.
What Lauralee is really talking about is education, okay? Basically what we need to do is educate the community about what domestic violence is. Domestic violence can be verbal, can be physical, can be financial,
And sexual.
can be sexual, can be emotional. There are various levels of domestic violence. And some people just think it's got to do with hitting someone. That sometimes happens. But there are other forms of domestic violence. And people need to be educated so that they're aware of what's actually happening.
When a person feels like they are being victimized or abused, what is there now for them to do? What we have in place? What support systems we have in place? Particularly in the context of a new protocol that the minister says is going to be signed. How is that going to work? Because traditionally, there's a lot of fear on the part of women in getting out of an abusive relationship. That whole, it's really a difficult task to get out of an abusive relationship. So I'd like to know, when we come back after the break, what support systems we have established and how is the protocol going to facilitate ease of getting out of abusive relationships. Keep it locked right at the Spotlight. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Clarence Thomas Limited, the BVI Tourist Board, and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm here with Lee Connor from the Gender Affairs Office, Dr. McInerney and Marcus Howley. And we're talking about domestic violence and developing healthy relationships. And my question before the break was, what are we doing and how are we helping victims of abuse to get out of those relationships and those situations easier? You mentioned several challenges, Dr. McInerney, money being one, shame being another one, fear of certainly is a prevalent one. How do we help victims to overcome those particular issues so that they are able to extricate themselves from an abusive situation?
Well, Family Support Network offers supportive services by providing food and clothing, temporary shelter. Also, they offer counseling to the victim and children of the families. As a matter of fact, between January and August of this year, Family Support offered counseling to 154 adults, and during the same period to 7 children as well. So there's that type of support. Social development offers, support to victims of domestic violence as well. And there are some protocols that are being set in place to facilitate, reporting of domestic violence. And I think Laura can explain more of that than I can.
Yes, the domestic violence protocol is actually a document that will bind the service providers or the first responders. And we refer to them in the protocol as stakeholders. So it includes health services, it includes social services, legal services, which is the police, and then judiciary, which is law enforcement, and then the judiciary. What this document actually does is bind those persons to have everyone's roles clarified, the gaps identified and dealt with, to ensure that victims coming through the system, victims of domestic violence, will be dealt with in the same manner. We'll be able to, get these persons to a point where they may feel comfortable enough to press charges, because as Dr. McInerney, we had a very heated discussion during the break where you were given several reasons why women do not leave the situation. Even though the protocol does not address these reasons, what it does do is to ensure that the service is a stronger service. It's more feasible then for these agencies to work together to offer the sort of support that they need from point A, which is the point of entry will probably be the police, and the point that of exit would probably be the director of public prosecution or his office dealing with the cases. So it's from getting them from point A to point B.
But you know, I was making a point that if you stay, you get beat up, and if you leave, you get beat up.
But you have protection orders in the law.
Yeah, but you know the protection orders don't work. I mean,
I don't know that. I do not know that.
There's where friends and family take a part now and come in. Because if my mom, my sister, or very close friend is getting beat up and she decides she's not having any more of it, there's a part I know they need to step in now and be a part and help her.
And help her to do what?
Well,
Safeguard her.
find ways to help shelter her and keep her from going back there.
So what
and
is
help her with her children.
what is law enforcement's role? Though, I mean,
Law enforcement, well, that's what law enforcement
yeah,
does as
they
well.
does that.
the judge
They
issues
does that.
the judge issues a restraining order or
Protection order.
protection order, and it's a piece of paper that goes out to the abuser, right?
It's not just a piece of paper, you know.
It's
It's
a law.
clearly defined
Right.
on what those stipulations are and what's expected of that person.
Right, and but still, the victim is fearful of walking in the street because she never can count on a police to be there when the man is going to walk up behind her and hit her something over the head. So how does that protection order serve as a deterrent to the abuser and a security to the victim?
Because that hit on the head has to be reported to the police, and the attacker will be picked up and arrested for
And the main- and the
violating
main-
the protection
and-
I
order.
was just going to say there are protection, the protection order has stipulations. If you breach the order,
Right.
you will be punished.
That's
I,
right.
I understand all that, but then I'll be dead too. The victim will be dead too. Yeah, you know, I
hear what you're saying.
I thought that there would be a stronger protocols, more protection, stronger penalties. Are those things included in the protocol?
The stronger penalties are included in the Act,
In
the
the
New
Act.
Domestic Violence Act. That has some stiff penalties. $5,000, I believe, with your first breach,
Right.
or I think it's 6 months or a year imprisonment. I don't have the Act in front of me now, but the penalties are much stiffer
Than they were
than
before.
the previous.
Right.
Yeah, so
So there are fines and there are incarcerations that can be dealt out if you violate that order of protection. So it is stiffer, as was just indicated, and people can be sent to jail.
So that's what I was getting at.
Right.
What the
I don't-
deterrent is. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, well, I don't think it would be hitting too much people in the head after the first hit.
Okay.
The new Act really addresses a lot of the issues that you just mentioned, and the protocol is just there to ensure that this Act is carried out in the right way.
And in the few minutes we have remaining, strengthening relationships is a task because you know, I think many of us are damaged psychologically. We perhaps haven't been raised properly. A lot of times, violence is a means of correction in our homes,
Right.
right?
We all come from dysfunctional families.
That's how we
Right.
train. That's how we are trained, and that's how we train our children. That you know, when I talk, you listen. You get spanked if you don't obey. I commit an act of violence against you if you don't obey. How are we going to get past that, though? I mean, that's not only so in domestic violence, but certainly it's so in relationships, or daily relationships between men, women, as you said, women. We become a violent society. What are we doing?
Well, like Dr. McEnany mentioned earlier, is educating the public. We have to move away from that sort of behavior because we realize that it's not conducive for us as a people. It's destroying us. Our prisons are filled with men who could be out doing better with their lives. And if you check their backgrounds, you'll find out that there was probably domestic violence in their backgrounds. Or even if you look at the sexual assault cases and how they're on the rise, these are things that are damaging our society, and it begins in the home. Your home actually reflects what's happening out in your community. And so with all these issues that we have coming up now, if you check the home, you'll see that the basis or the premise for them is right there in that home.
Right. So it's education, education, education.
And more education.
That's right.
Re-socialization. We need to re-socialize.
And what I have found is when you, instead of being Mr. Macho, and you simply ask for stuff or ask somebody to do something, or even show more love and respect at the home, you get the lady, the kids, everyone to do things easier. When you start demanding stuff, you
Is when
tend, to
resist-
get, you tend to get a tough
When
feedback.
when the resistance comes.
Yeah, you know, if you just simply ask for this or ask for that or say, can
If you
do
give
this?
love, if you give love, you'll get love.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
right.
But this
it's
is
as
what he
simple
has
as that.
learned.
Right.
He has been re-socialized, because if you had asked him this question about 3-4 years ago, I'm sure he would not have answered you the same way. So it is possible. This behavior can change, but it's through education, education, education. We can't talk enough. We can't do enough shows. We can't go into enough schools. We just have to keep giving that message, sending it out there and being positive, knowing that it can bring about the change that we desire.
And as this month is designated, domestic violence month, so to speak.
Awareness month.
Awareness
Awareness month. Okay.
Awareness
We need to continue the dialogue. We have a list of activities for the entire month that we're really out there pushing and doing in the community. But what we need to do is to expand it more and more so that it's an everyday discussion,
Right.
both in the home, in the school, in the workplace. It needs to be addressed as really a major issue, in the community.
Okay. You want to talk briefly about the activities coming up?
Sure, we have quite a few activities. We have poetry competition. Well, Family Support Network is doing that. As I told you before, it's a collaborative effort. Today we were in the Breezeway. We have coming up Dancing with the Stars, October 18th. That's Family Support Network again. We have a gala, Family Support Network, at the Catholic Church on the 26th. Thursday we'll be in Virgin Gorda in the schools talking about the ACT and healthy relationships. Friday we'll be at Noah Lloyd Positive Action Movement Park with EAP, that's the Employee Assistance Program. We're collaborating with them this year so that we can get the word out there to the public servants as well. We have self-defense classes on the 12th and the 19th from 9 to 11. And men are asking if they can come. Sure, they can come. They just need to call the Office of Gender Affairs and register. We also have presentations at Scotiabank tomorrow. Like I said, we have a lot of private entities, public organizations as well. So the
And the
stress
public
and the
schools.
public schools,
Right.
all the public schools we're trying to tackle this year. It's been hard. And education have allowed us to come in and do sessions with the principal and the teachers. I think that's supposed to take place on the 24th. Someday. The schedule is so packed.
And if someone wants to find out more about what's going on during this month's activities, domestic violence awareness activities, where can they call in? How
They
can
can
get
call
information?
the Office of Gender Affairs at 468-0017, or they can also call
Family Support
Family
Network.
Support Network,
49
Social Development as
Yeah.
well. Go ahead.
Family Support Network is 494-7622. Yeah.
And you have a website. If you could come on and get this information or anything like that yet?
I believe all the information is online.
Yes.
Online.
schedule.
Where?
I know this is on our intranet.
That's on your internet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Fam-
on our internet.
Yeah.
Is there an address or someplace you could give out where you can check?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me check on that, because our information officer has been working diligently on getting the word out there, so
Okay.
I'll find out.
So you can call Gender Affairs Office
468-0017.
and Family Support Network.
494-7622.
Okay. Well, the parliamentarian o'clock. Yeah. and you're gonna have to come back again, and you have to come back more often. You know, not just once a year when there's a domestic violence
Awareness month.
because that's not enough.
It's not.
It's not enough. And so you got to take more advantage of the opportunities that's available
Thank you.
to you.
You invite us back, and we'll be here.
I ain't got to invite you back. You call me up and I have any bureaucracy.
This is true. I usually just call him up.
Just call me up and say I want to come. You know, I don't know. I don't need to know who your mother is. None of that stuff. It was good. Thanks for being my guest, Larry. It's always good to see you.
They're always good to see
Good
you.
job, and Dr. McNanny. You've been in the fight for a long time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's good to see you, Marcus. And
Good to see you
the
too.
work that you're
Encourage him
doing.
to keep that fight up because he's
Yeah,
really
that's very
making
important.
change.
I'm impressed. Yes. And thanks for the T-shirt. Yes, I'm gonna wear my T-shirt tomorrow. Next week, the spotlight is going to be on the tourist board. It's going to come in and we're going to talk about tourism activities in the territory. Some nice events coming up, especially the first annual Anegada Lobster Festival. I'm looking forward to that, even though I don't eat lobster. but it's going to be a fun event in Anegada. So it's going to be a lot of entertainment. And next week, I think Rodney is going to be here talking about all that's going to be happening in the territory to encourage and generate tourism activity, and for our local entertainment, it's going to be great. So make sure you tune in next week. Spotlight is seen Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Channel 55, and also rebroadcast on Sundays at 2:30. We also stream live at jtvlive.net. And if you miss any spotlights, you can catch up on all the spotlights on jtvlive.net. During the show, you could be always streaming live, so you could watch us on your computer or your smartphone if you like. So, and whatever you miss, you can revisit. Or when you're doing research, you could go on jtvlive.net. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your words of encouragement, your criticisms, and your suggestions. Continue to email me at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. I'm Ed Juenka, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited, Clarence Thomas Limited, and H. Lavity Stout Community College.